Club Atlético Rosario Central is a sports club based in Rosario, Argentina, that plays in the Argentine Primera División. The club was officially founded December 24, 1889, taking its name from the British-owned Central Argentine Railway Company. One of the oldest Argentine teams, it is considered a pioneer in its hometown and the first of current Rosarian teams to have won an international title, the Copa Conmebol. In all truth, Atlético del Rosario had won 3 tie cups in the 1900s, organized by AFA and AUF together. Nevertheless, Atlético del Rosario left the practice of football soon after, focusing in rugby union. Originally member of the Rosario's Football Association, the club affiliated to the Argentine Football Association in 1939. Since then, Rosario Central has won the Argentine's First Division 4 times. Its last domestic title was the 1986 Euro 87 season. In addition, Rosario Central won the Conmebol Cup once, in 1995, being the only team in Santa Fe province which has won an official international title recognized by FIFA. In 2012, the club was considered by FIFA as one of the 11 most classical clubs in Argentine football. Rosario Central has a strong rivalry with Newell's Old Boys. The matches played between them are named El Clásico Rosarino, and is amongst the most heated rivalries in the sport due to both teams and due to Rosario Central's local popularity. Rosario Central's home stadium is Estadio Dr. Lisandro de la Torre, known simply as El Gigante de Oro, which is the largest stadium in the city. History == beginning == The club was founded as the Central Argentine Railway Athletic Club on December 24, 1889, by 16 British railway workers of the British-owned Central Argentine Railway Company as a football club. They wanted to be unlike Rosario Cricket Club, which was focused on rugby union. The first president was Scotsman Colin Bain Calder, and the first vice president was Englishman Thomas Hooper. The recently created club played its first match with the crew of an English ship, playing it in May 1890. The game ended 1-1, so a new game was played, that was won by the Argentine club by 2-1. During many years Central Argentine played only internal matches or facing Rosario Cricket Club occasionally. The British-owned railway did not allow people outside the company to become a member. In 1904 the railway companies Central Argentino and Buenos Aires merged, so the club's members decided to modify the name of the institution. The club changed to Club Atlético Rosario Central, and also decided to accept new members with no restrictions. The Liga Rosarina de Football was created in March 1905, formed by teams from the city of Rosario, Santa Fe. The first tournament managed by the league was the Copa Santiago Pinasco, named that way because the mayor of Rosario, Santiago Pinasco, donated the trophy. Central debuted on May 21, 1905, defeating Atlético del Rosario 3-1. On June, Central played a friendly match against English team Nottingham Forest, losing 5-0. Rosario Central won its first regional title in 1908. In 1913 the club disaffiliated from the league, founding with another clubs the dissident Federación Cubana Rosarina de Football. Central won this league in 1913. In 1914 Central would return to the Rosarian League, and won the championship with no doubts. He played 20 matches, winning 19 games with 1 draw. The team scored 99 goals and only conceded 10, being Harry Hayes the top scorer of the tournament with 51 goals. The squad also would win the 1915, 1916 and 1917 regional titles, becoming 4 champion of the Rosarian League. In 1919, Central won the Rosario S League title again, winning 3-2 the final match against their history rivals, Newell's S Old Boys. In 1920 Rosario Central left the league again, and joined other clubs to form the Asociación Cubana Amateur, winning the 1920 and 1921 titles. 2 years later, Central and the dissident clubs would return again to the Rosarian League. In the following years, Central won the 1923, 1927, 1928, and 1930 championship, becoming the most successful team in Liga de Rosario's history. National Cups. The first national title came in 1913 when Rosario Central won the Copa de Competencia La Nación Cubana after defeating Argentino de Quilmes by 3-2. In 1915 Central won its second national title, obtaining the Copa Dr. Carlos Urbagaran. That was a trophy contested by the champions of Buenos Aires and Rosario. Central defeated Racing Club 3-1 in the final match. In 1916 Central won the Copa de Honor Municipalidad de Buenos Aires after beating Independiente 1-0. That same year the Rosarian team won the Copa de Competencia Jockey Club defeating Independiente again. A new national title would come in 1920, when Central won the Copa de Competencia against Almagro. In 1931 football became professional in Argentina, so a new association, the Asociación Cubana Rosariana de Fútbol, was created in Rosario to organize the first professional championships. The Copa Nicasio Vila changed its name to Torneo Gobernador Luciano Molinas, honoring then-governor of Santa Fe Province Luciano Molinas. Rosario Central won the 1937 and 1938 titles. Primera División Cubana. In 1939, Rosario Central and its ACH rival Newell's Old Boys requested Argentine Football Association to be added to the main league championship of Argentina, the Primera División Cubana. The association accepted the requirement. In 1941 Rosario Central was relegated to Primera B, after losing 20 matches with only 6 won. Nevertheless, Central only lasted one season in second division, returning 1 year later, after 25 matches won and only 4 lost. In 1950 Central was relegated again after a poor campaign in Primera. As its precedent relegation, Central promoted to the top division 1 year after being relegated, so the team returned to Primera in 1951. Rosario Central won its first National League title, the in 1971 National Championship with Angel Labruna as coach, defeating San Lorenzo in the final game. Central had previously beat arch-rival Newell's by 1-0 in semi-finals with a goal scored by Aldo Poi, who dove to head the ball. That goal is still remembered by Central supporters who usually reunite on December 19, to recreate the goal. Many times Poi himself has taken part of the celebration. The second professional title for the club came 2 years later, winning the 1973 Nacional with Carlos Grigual as coach. Some of the most notable players were Poi, Carlos Aymar and Eduardo Solari. The most frequent lineup was Carlos Biasato, Jorge Gonzalez, Olio Pascatini, Daniel Killer, Mario Killer, Carlos Aymar, Eduardo Solari, Aldo Poi, Rama Cubdenbar Cubed Vida, Roberto Cabral and Daniel Arica Cubed. For the 1974 season, Central acquired striker Mario Kempes from Instituto Atlético Central Car Cubed RDOBA. The 1980s. After 7 years without titles, Central won the 1980 Nacional with Angel Tuliozov on the bench. That team was called La Sinfa Cubed Nica because of the exquisite playing displayed by the team on the field. Central defeated Racing Dakar Cubed RDOBA 5-0 in the first final game, and lost 2-0 in the second match but proclaimed champion due to goal average. Daniel Carnevali, Juan Carlos Chiametti, Edgardo Borza, Oscar Krajasic, Jorge Garcia, Jose Copyright Gator N, Daniel Sporandio, Eduardo Barcas, Far Copyright Lix Orti, Victor Marchetti and Daniel Teglia was the frequent lineup on the fields. After a few years with bad seasons, the team was relegated in 1984, but returned to First Division just 1 year later after winning the Primera B Championship, coached by Pedro Marqueta. Central returned to Primera to play the 1986-87 season, winning the title at the end of the tournament but coached by Zov again. This was a first in Argentine football. The 1986-87 team was formed by Alejandro Laneri, Hernan Diaz, Jorge Balbais, Edgardo Borza, Pedernera, Omar Palma, Adelqui Corneglia, Roberto Gasparini, Osvaldo Escudero, Fernando Lanzadei and Hugo Galani. International titles. The first years of the decade of 1990 Central did not make good campaigns in domestic tournaments, although the team won the Conmebol Cup in 1995, being the only international title achieved by a Santa Fe province-based team to date. Central defeated Brazilian squad Atlético Mineiro for a Euro-0 in Arauto after losing by the same score in the first match in Brazil. Finally Central won the cup by penalty shootout, with a score of 4-3. The club has participated in 10 editions of the Copa Libertadores, and is currently tied for 5th place with Estudiantes de La Plata and VAR copyright Les Zarrasfield, all of which trail participation leaders Boca Juniors, River Plate, Independiente, and San Lorenzo de Almagro. Decline in resurrection. After the 2010 Clausura, Rosario Central's poor form over the past 3 years forced it into a relegation promotion playoff against Nacional B side All Boys, which won the tie over 2 legs for a Euro-1 on aggregate, relegating Rosario Central to Primera B Nacional, the second tier of Argentine football. It was the 4th time the club was relegated to play in the second division. Rosario Central spent several seasons in the B Nacional until May 19, 2013, when the squad secured the promotion to Primera División after beating Gimnasia y Esgrima de Jujuy by 3-0. The 3 goals were scored by Javier Toledo. The team was coached by Miguel Angel Russo. Kit and badge. Uniform evolution. Kit manufacturers and shirt sponsors. Since July 2012, the clothing of Rosario Central is provided by the company Olympicus, who takes from the sports uniform up to the extra sports clothes. Starting in 2015 the clothing will be provided by Nike. In turn, the jacket is sponsored by the Argentinian bank, Banco Municipal. Badge evolution. Stadium. Rosario Central plays in the Gigante de Arauto Stadium, located in the confluence of Avenida Boulevard and GAR Copyright Novi Avenue, in the Lisandro de la Torre neighborhood, in northeast Rosario. It has an official capacity of 41,654. In the tournament, all 3 second-round games of the Argentine squad were played in the Gigante. Local hero Kempes enjoyed the support of the fans and went on to become the top scorer of the tournament. Nicknames. Central's common nickname is Canellas because it is said that the club refused to play a charity match for a leprosy clinic in the 1920s. Rival side Newell's acquired the Leprosos nickname when it did play in that event. Another version states that in 1928 the Central supporters burned down some canvas near the Club Belgrano Stadium. When the Belgrano supporters saw that, they started to shout to them, "You're scoundrels! Scoundrels!" In a January 2007 press conference presenting the New Jersey, Rosario native Roberto Fontaine-Arosa revised the definition and spelling of Central's nickname. The new spelling he gave was canalla, because according to him, people from the city of Rosario do not use the Spanish word canela for any other reason than referring to the club. Central is also known as La Academia due to the amount of players that become professional from the youth teams, and to the amount of consecutive Rosario's league titles that the club won in the amateur era, in comparison to Racing Club, that won a lot of championships in the Buenos Aires League at the same time too. Supporters. Rosario Central supporters are considered one of the most significant of Argentina. The newspaper Ola copyright was published last January 5, 2008 by a recent study realized by the English magazine UK Football. The same one, published that a ranking with the 50 most vibrant supporters of the world. The results were the following ones, as first, Milan represents the supporters of the AC, then that of Real Madrid, and third that of the Galatasaray of Turkey. Between the Argentinians that of Rosario Central turns out to be like first in the position 14, second that of River Plate in the position 20, third turn out to be the supporters of Boca Juniors in 23, and fourth that of Racing Club in the place number 48. It is provided also with certain proper rituals, as being the throwing of tau'a, on November 23 in recognition to the party that Rosario Central imposed on his rival for 4-0, and this one was considered finished to 11 minutes of the second half, is known as the Day of the Abandonment, or the celebration of the Day of the Francanaya, which is celebrated on July 19, and the most important, the celebration of the Little Dove of Poi, who celebrates all on December 19 in different cities of the world, raised an order so that between to the book Guinness as the most celebrated goal of the history. In popular culture, Rosario Central has featured in many films, books, songs and plays. The club has also featured on several occasions in prose. Roberto Fontanaros's story 19 Diciembre 1971 is about a fan who travels to Buenos Aires for a semi-final match against Newell's Old Boys. Celebrity fans include Alberto El Negro Olmedo, Rita La Salvage, Libertad Lamarck, some writers such as Osvaldo Bayer and Roberto Fontanarosa, and some musicians as well as Fito Páez, Juan Carlos Baglietto, Joaquín Sabina are all fans of the club. Ernesto Che Guevara, a major figure of the Cuban Revolution, was a Rosario Central fan. 4, 5, 6, 7. Players. Current squad Current squad of Rosario Central as of May 25, 2015. Sources, official website and Argentine Soccer, manager, Eduardo Coudet. Former players. Honors. National League, Primera División, 1971 Nacional, 1973 Nacional, 1980 Nacional, 1986 Euro 87, Primera B Nacional, 2012 Euro 13, Primera B, 1942, 1951, 1985. National Cups, Copa de Competencia La Nación Cuban, 1913 Copa Drive Carlos Urbáguren, 1915, Copa de Honor Municipalidad de Buenos Aires, 1916, Copa de Competencia Jockey Club, 1916, Copa de Competencia, 1920. International Copa Conmebol, 1995. Regional Rosario S Football League, 1908, 1914, 1915, 1916, 1917, 1919, 1923, 1927, 1928, 1930, 1937, 1938 1, Rosario's Football Federation, 1913, Rosario's Amateurs Football Association, 1920, 1921, notes, once since 1939, Rosario Central begun to participate in the Argentina's first division into the AFA tournament. Before that year, the club participated in the Asociación Cubana Rosariana de Football but also competed in the AFA National Official Cups. Managers. Notes. References. External links, official website, official site, rosariocentral.org, canela.com, Canela Amuet, La AKD, de Rosario y de Central,